Hello, Soldaten. Today, we will be discussing the proper usage of hand signale in movement and combat. To keep things simple and easily accessible on the numpad, we have limited this guide to 8 hand signale. Here is a brief outline of the contents of this video in case you wish to jump ahead. The first section of this video guide is the overview of all the hand signale we use, their meanings, the hand signale name in game, and recommended key bindings. The second section of this video is hand signale procedure, wherein we discuss their proper usage and how to employ them in the field. Accompanying this section will be example footage of how to communicate via hand signale and several different scenarios where they are applicable. Let's move on now to hand signale themselves. This hand signal should be the most recognizable to Soldaten. This is the point gesture. This gesture allows you to point out Feinstellung, terrain objects, and other elements of the Zug with ease. This is the most common gesture you'll see in-game and is of great benefit for timely communication. A second aspect of this hand signal is to point Gruppen and Truppen into positions. This will be explained further in the procedures section of this guide. Unlike the rest of the hand signale in this guide, this gesture is set apart as an independent function of ACE. You'll need to bind it on a separate page of the add-ons control tab. Since it is easily the most common hand signale used in game, it is recommended to bind this to number 1 on the keypad. The second hand signal is Achtung and Verstanden. These two hand signals are foundational to the operation of hand signale procedure. Achtung is used to hail the recipient of the signal. Achtung is commenced until a like sign is returned from the other party. Once the Achtung is reciprocated, messaging can commence. Once a message or orders are given, the Achtung is used as an Ende sign. A returned Achtung is the signal for Verstanden, or understood, and that you will comply with orders immediately. Because these are foundational signals to commence communication, it is recommended to bind this as keypad 2. The third hand signal is Sammelngruppe, Zug, or company. This signal is used to bring an element of the company to your position. The size of that force is dependent upon who you are signaling with. If the company chef is signaling with a Zugführer, it is a Zug. If the Zugführer is signaling with a Gruppenführer, it's a Gruppe. And if the Gruppenführer is signaling with a Stelv, it's a Truppe. A recommended key for Sammelngruppe is keypad 3. The fourth hand signal is Sammeln Leader. Much like the previous signal, this sign is sent to request the presence of the person you're signaling. Instead of bringing their whole command, this sign indicates a need for only their solitary presence, keeping their manner in current positions. Since this signal is similar to our third signal, it is wise to keep them together for easy recall. A good binding for Sammeln Leader is keypad 4. The fifth signal is Feierstellungen. This signal is used to bring an element of the company, Zug or Gruppe, into firing positions. Often used with the first signal, point, this enables infantry leaders to give positional orders at a distance. Keypad 5 is an appropriate binding for this key. The sixth signal is Sammeln in Reihe. Like the previous Sammeln signals, this sign is used to call forward an element of the company. However, this signal is used to command the arriving Gruppe or Zug to arrive in Reihe and ready to continue movement. This signal is very handy for infantry leaders to keep their Gruppen organized and ready to move as they perform forward Aufklärungs. Keypad 6 works as a bind for this gesture. The seventh hand signal is halt and cannot comply. The main use of this signal is to bring the formation to a halt. Whether given by a company chef or Gruppenführer, this signal means to halt your movement, hold positions, and await further orders. Similar to the Verstanden signal, this hand signal also means that the given unit cannot comply with the previously received orders. Used as a return sign, this signal means the unit cannot complete the given orders. For example, a Zugführer orders a Gruppen to move into Feierstellungen, but because they are wounded, out of order, or there are hazards unbeknownst to the Zugführer, the orders cannot be followed. An appropriate key binding for this hand signal is numpad 7. Lastly, the eighth hand signal is Volleydeckung. This signal means to immediately hit the dirt and find cover. Given in response to surprise attacks, low-flying aircraft, or to protect against incoming artillery, this general command is often used under duress and should be easily recognizable to every man in the unit. Because of its importance, keypad 8 is an excellent choice for this signal. Being the last signal mandated by our doctrine, it should be as easily memorable as keypad 1. It goes without saying that these key binding recommendations are exactly that, recommendations. If you have a setup you prefer or have grown comfortable with, feel free to use it. These recommendations are intended for Soldaten who have no prior experience with ace gestures. Now, let's carry on to the second section of this guide, Hand Signale Procedure. So let's begin with the basics of how to communicate with hand signals. To begin communication, you use the Achtung symbol until you receive the same sign. Then you can begin your message. In the case of this example, the Zugführer is ordering the Gruppenführer to summon leader. You'll notice he ends his message with an Achtung and waits to receive the same sign to confirm the Verstanden. I'll count out the hand signals for you. Let's watch that again. Achtung. Achtung. Sammeln. Verstanden. Verstanden. And just like that, a simple message is sent by hand signal. But what if the recipient cannot follow the given orders? The format is the same, except instead of a Verstanden, the Gruppenführer sends the cannot comply, which is in turn confirmed with a Verstanden. As you can see, the hand signale are a straightforward and simple way of being understood over long distances. They eliminate the need for melders and speed up the tempo of battlefield communications, which can provide an important edge in dire situations. Now, let's look at some examples of hand signale usage. The first example is Feierstellung hier. The Zugführer gives the Achtung, the same sign is returned, then the Feierstellung order is given, and a position is pointed out. The Gruppenführer confirms with the Verstanden, and then heads off to Feierstellung with his Gruppen. The second example is a halt and Sammeln leader signal. As the Gruppe approaches, the Achtung is given and returned, the Zugführer orders the Gruppen to halt, and lastly for the Gruppenführer to sammeln. The Gruppenführer confirms, then leaves his Gruppe behind to regroup with the Zugführer. Today's last example is the most important. One command that should be instantly recognizable is the signal to Volleydeckung. The reasons for giving this order are many, from a sudden ambush to Russian fighters overhead. Whatever the reason, once the Volleydeckung is given, find cover quickly and await orders. This concludes the 23rd Panzer-Division Hand-Signale Guide. If you have any questions, please direct them to your Gruppenführer or the veteran members of your Gruppe. The purpose of this video is to make hand signals more widespread in our everyday communications. Any benefits to expediting communication make us a more efficient unit as a whole. Viel Glück out there, Soldat, and I'll see you next time.